Ni hao, hello, and welcome to a special Chinese edition of the Dev Superpowers. As you can see behind me, I'm currently in the SSW Beijing office. I'm up here working for a couple of months and just seeing what it's like to work in another country. It's quite interesting. Now, this is the Dev Superpowers series, and in today's episode we're going to be talking about SignalR. So let's check out the agenda. So let's start off with we're going to talk about what SignalR is. After that, I'm going to dive down into two different applications so you can see me implementing it twice. And then at the end, I'm going to discuss how we can scale SignalR. So let's start off with what actually SignalR is. Now, SignalR is a nice little framework which was produced by the ASP.NET application, and it allows for real-time communication between the client and the server. Now, whenever we do anything over the web, it's all done over the HTTP protocol, which is inherently stateless. And what we're trying to do is put state over the top of this to allow real-time communications. Now, SignalR is great, and it abstracts away all of that yuckiness that exists underneath here. And the good thing about this is because it is an abstraction, we can just go and code against SignalR, but whenever the underlying technologies change for how they can transmit these messages over the internet, then we don't have to change our code. The SignalR team just has to enable these new technologies, and everything will just happen seamlessly for us under the covers. So let's take a look at what the world is like before SignalR. So before we were able to do this, how would we work with our client and our server? Now, a very common thing that we would want to do is know the progress of a task, of a work item. Maybe a video that is being encoded on the server. A long-running process where we want to see the progress being updated periodically. Another thing may be a user wanting to receive notifications when something has happened. So receiving a notification when a stock ticker has dropped below a certain price threshold, for example. Now, to do this, the client would just have to sit there and poll the server. There wasn't any better way. So the client would go and hit the server and say, "Hey, do you have anything for me?" "No." "Do you have anything?" "No." "Do you have No, just go away." "No, go!" Until eventually the server goes, "Yes, okay, fine, have this one piece of data, now go away." But then the client starts polling again and going, "Hey, do you have anything? Do you have anything?" Now this is a problem. It's just wasteful on resources. It's not very efficient. You're wasting, it may only be a small amount of network traffic, but you're still putting unnecessary messages on there. But also on the server side, you're also taking up valuable server processing time, having to handle all these messages just to reply back no, no. Now, this was before SignalR. With SignalR, it enables us to just go in between the server and client. It handles all of the underlying handshaking and protocol negotiations and all of this. So it boils down to the server saying, "Hey, can you communicate in real time?" The client saying, "Yeah, I can do that." And then they go and communicate in real time from then on. And all of that is handled for us by the SignalR team. We don't have to do anything apart from going signalr.hub.start. Now, the good thing about SignalR is, as I said, it's just an abstraction over the underlying mechanisms for sending and receiving these messages. And it actually supports a number of different ways of sending these messages. And because it's an abstraction, we don't care and we don't know how it's doing it under the covers. Now, ideally, when everything is working correctly, when both the server and the client support WebSockets, it's going to do that. That's the currently most resource efficient way of sending and receiving messages between the server and the client. But there are some restrictions. It does require that the server supports it and the client. Now, on the server side, in the Windows world, it is supported on Windows Server 2008 R2 and above. So and it also works on Windows Server 2012. I can't remember if it's the 2012 or 2012 R2. Either way, get on R2 of everything and get onto the latest versions. It also works on Windows Azure and Windows Azure websites. So if you did follow my webinar on the very first Dev Superpowers, when I introduced Windows Azure websites and MVC5, when you go and deploy this out to Windows Azure websites, SignalR will work on there with WebSockets. Now, on the client side, all of the old versions of IE don't support this. WebSockets is supported on the very latest versions of IE and on the latest versions of Chrome, Firefox, etc. Now, when either the server or when the client doesn't support WebSockets, then it's going to go and fall back to something else. So it'll fall back to server-sent events. Server-sent events and WebSockets are HTML5 mechanisms for trying to do real-time communications. If you can't do WebSockets or server-sent events, then it'll fall down to, I accidentally clicked, it's going to fall down to forever frames. If you can't do forever frames, then it's going to fall back to just doing AJAX long polling. But the good thing is, if the client goes and updates their browser to something newer, then they'll just automatically get what is currently best for them. So now that we've got a rough idea of what SignalR is doing, it's just an abstraction that allows us to send us and receive messages really easily between client and server. Let's have a look at one of these scenarios. So we're going to have something happening on the server. In this case, a server-side event has happened, and we want to tell all of our clients. So how we set everything up is our clients will go, they set themselves up, they go and initialize a connection with a SignalR hub which is sitting on the server. And then everything just sits there waiting for something to happen. Now in this case, a server-side event happens, so this could be the video encoding progress has ticked up another couple percent. It could be that the stock ticker has dipped below a price threshold. In either event, a server-side event has happened, and we want to go and transmit this. So the server will just go look at the SignalR hub and then just broadcast a message out to each of those clients. And that's what we're going to do in this first demo. I'm going to create a little application where we just hit an endpoint which is going to just generate widgets. And when we generate a widget, we're going to go and broadcast this message out to all of those clients. So let's go and open up Visual Studio. I'm going to go and create a new stock standard ASP.NET application. So we're going to go File, New Project, once Visual Studio has come back to us. There we go. We're going to go File, New Project. Going to create a new web demos. We'll call it the, let's see, SignalR Webinar. Oh, that rhymes. SignalR Webinar. We hit OK. We'll go MVC5. We'll leave everything as a default, but we won't host it in the cloud. We'll just hit OK. Now, again, everything that I'm doing here today will work in the cloud on Windows Azure websites, but I don't want to talk about it because this webinar is concentrating on SignalR. If you do want to see how to go and create an ASP.NET website, and where I talk a bit more in depth about that template screen, what each of those different options do, and how to go and deploy this out to Windows Azure websites, please go and watch the very first webinar that I did. That's a 1 hour, I can't remember, 1 hour, 1.5 hour webinar where I go and do a fairly deep dive into every aspect of this, and you'll be able to see how to use ASP.NET's MVC5, SQL Azure, and Azure websites all working together. Now my Visual Studio has finished creating a new blank project here, so let's just hit run and make sure that everything is working fine. Yep, build succeeded. It's popping up. Let it spin up. And it's always just good to make sure that your system is up and running and working well before you try to do something, so you know if there's a problem before you even get started. This happened to me a number of times. I've not tried to run it first. I do something else, I hit run and it doesn't work. I think it's my code, but it was actually my environment that was broken. Now again, stock standard ASP.NET website, but somewhere on this page we want clients to be able to display how many widgets have been created. So we're going to go and take over this About screen. So on this About screen, it's not doing anything useful, so we're going to make this the new widget screen. I'm going to strip out all of this text that's here, and then we're going to write a little bit of JavaScript to go and display the number of widgets. So let's close this down, go back. So before we get started, let's go and look at the NuGet packages that are here. If we look at the installed packages, we do have a number of packages here, but if I type in SignalR, we can see we don't have any SignalR NuGet packages installed yet. Now, the Visual Studio tooling is smart enough to add it in for us automatically. We could go in here and add it manually if we wanted to, but I want to show you how you can do it with the tooling. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to add a new folder and call it Hubs, so I can create all of my SignalR hubs in this one folder. Then if I right click, add a new item, up here we can search for SignalR. We can add a hub class. We're going to call it the widget hub. We hit add. Now, when I hit add, keep a little eye out down here in the bottom left hand corner. If we hit add, then we can see Visual Studio is going and adding in each of those SignalR NuGet packages. SignalR NuGet packages for us automatically. Let's delete this out. Let's use ReSharper to streamline everything. Do a quick build. Great. Manage NuGet packages. Now, if we look at the installed packages and look at SignalR, we can now see we do have the SignalR packages installed in our application now, which is very useful. But one thing that you should always do after installing a NuGet package, so here Visual Studio automatically added a NuGet package, but they only added in one of the older versions of the package. So let's go into updates. Let's search for SignalR, and we'll tell it to update this one. Hit update. Now the cool thing is, because I'll hit accept. Because the other two have dependencies on that top one, if I hit update, it'll go and update all of them. That's pretty cool. So we've now got the latest versions of the SignalR libraries. But when Visual Studio automatically added in those NuGet libraries for us, it did pop up this readme.txt file that is just warning us, hey, we were able to go and add in those NuGet packages for you, but you still need to go and wire everything up. And it tells you exactly what to do. You need to go into the startup class inside of your application, go into the configuration method, and then you just add this one line here, app.mapSignalR, and this will tell your ASP.NET application that on startup it should go and map all of the SignalR mappings for us. So this is like your routes with MVC. So let's scroll down. We'll open up startup.cs, paste that in there, hit save, and that's done. We can close this, we can close this. Now we've got our widget hub here, ready for clients to connect to it so we can send messages out to the world. I'm going to add in a property here, int, call it the widget count. Let's make it a static. So rather than wasting time trying to do a whole bunch of business logic to create widgets, I'm just going to create a little static variable here which just has the count of widgets. Nothing special, I just needed somewhere to store the number of widgets that we've created in our system. Okay, now we need a way to trigger this server-side event so that we can go and send a message out to our clients. Now, a few different ways that I could try to trigger these, but I'm going to use an MVC controller. So I'm going to go into the home controller and I'm going to add a new endpoint to here called public void create widget. Now, because this is an MVC controller, this is just going to create a brand new route for me. If I go localhost /home /create widget, it's just going to invoke this method. So this is just a way that I'm enabling us to simulate a server-side event happening. So when we hit this, we're going to bring in some using statements for the SignalR. Okay, now the SignalR team have created a little method for us so we can go and get a handle on our SignalR hub that is here on the server, so then we can look at all the clients which are connected to it. So they do it through this method here called global host. So global host.connectionmanager.getHubContext. We pass in the name of the class, and then it's going to go and find that one instance that's here on the server side. So now we're storing that in a variable, so we can now do something with this instance of this widget hub. So if we go widget hub context dot, now we can see we've got groups and clients. So we're going to go clients, so we can do something with the clients which are connected to the SignalR hub, and we can go all. So clients.all. Okay, so what do we want to do with all of these clients which are connected? We want to send a message out to them. Now, if we hover over the all object, something interesting is you can see it's a dynamic object. Now, dynamic objects means that we can arbitrarily add new properties and methods to it at any time. And the SignalR team take advantage of this. So we want to send a message out to all clients, and now we can just send any arbitrary message out to all of these clients, anything that we want. We just have to type it in here because it's a dynamic object. So let's go and send out update widget. Widget count message to everyone. And we're going to send out the current amount of widgets, which, because it's a static property, would be widget hub.widgetCount. But most importantly, when people call our create widget method, we would expect us to create a widget. So let's actually go and increment this. Widget hub.widgetCount plus equals 1. Very good. Now let's put a breakpoint here. Let's run this and let's talk about what's happening step by step before I go any further. So hit F5, it's going to spin up my website. We're going to go localhost /home/create widget. I hit enter. Here we go. As I said, I just needed a way to invoke some server-side logic. So I'm doing this via an MVC route. So anytime someone hits create widget, then we're going to do our very important business logic of creating a widget, which happens instantaneously. After creating this widget, we're going to go get a handle on our widget hub. Then we're just going to send a message to all clients. This message is called update widget count, and we're sending out to all of them the current count of widgets. So if I let's have a look. Current widget count is 0. Current widget count is 1. We'll go broadcast that message out to everyone, but there aren't any clients connected yet. So let's hit refresh and check it out one more time. Widget count is 1. Step over. Widget count is 2. Broadcast that new message. Again, no clients are connected. So let's fix that up. We've got our server side happening fine. So again, this is just my arbitrary business logic. You would want to do something more real world, such as, again, that stock ticker example. Once something has happened, you want to do these 2 lines to go and send a message out to all of those clients. Now, as I said, we're going to go and take over that about page. So we're going to go delete out all of these. That's all fine, but I'm going to add in a div, and in this div is where we're going to display the current count of widgets. So we're going to go ID equals, and we'll call it widget count. There we go. Now we want to put our JavaScript code in a section. So if you remember from my very first webinar, I mentioned that, it was my one on Web API. Whichever webinar it was, I described that the MVC template helps you put JavaScript into the correct place. Now, the correct place for JavaScript is always at the very bottom of your HTML page. So putting inside an MVC section will just ensure that it's going down the bottom. So we've got our UI, which just has a div displaying the widget count. Then we're going to go and bring in the libraries that we need one at a time. Let's go into scripts. Now jQuery has already been brought in because it's in the layout, which is like the master page. So jQuery is already there, but we need to bring in the jQuery plugin for SignalR. Let's drag that across. Then my chair has fallen down. Let's put my chair back up. There we go. Okay, so we've got the plugin for SignalR here. So then I'm going to import in SignalR/hub. Now, this is a really cool thing, the /SignalR/hub. I'm going to just run this up again, and I'm going to hit that URL to show you what's happening here. /SignalR/hub/hubs. I'm glad I tested that. And then down here it says, do you want to save hub.js? So what's happening is SignalR at runtime is dynamically generating this JavaScript code. So if we open it up, we see a bunch of JavaScript. If we scroll right down to the bottom, we can actually see we've got our widget hub sitting here. And this allows us to just consume this JavaScript code and start using this widget hub straight away because the SignalR library is just automatically generating this code for us. So that's why we have /hubs. So let's bring in our own script. So we're importing all the libraries that we need. Now we can do something. So SignalR is great. On the server side, we saw it was 3 lines of code. Here on the client side, it's going to be 3 lines of code as well. 3.5 if you want. Now, I'm just going to copy and paste this, and we're going to talk about what it's doing one step at a time. Paste, delete, delete, and delete. So we can talk about them one at a time. So the very first thing we need to do is declare a proxy reference for the hub. And because we've already imported in that dynamic JavaScript that's been created, all we need to do is go $.connection.widgetHub. And we saw that line of JavaScript here, and my chair's falling down again. Okay, the gas in here must be really old. So we can just go connection.widgetHub, and we can start using it. So the next thing we want to do is, once we've got a handle on this widget hub, we want to say that we want to handle those messages that are coming from the server to the client. So we do this by going widgets.client. We want to do things which are here on the client side, and then dot. And so here we can just put down the name of any server message that we want to handle. In this case, update widget count. So if you remember, if we go back to, where was it? Here, we're sending out a message called update widget count. So here in our JavaScript, we want to handle the message called update widget count. Now, we're going to put a function here to handle that. And so the function is going to get the count that came from that message. Then we're just going to do a simple piece of jQuery. So we're going to the jQuery selector, select that widget count div. Then we're going to go and replace the text that's in that div with some text. So we're going to go widgets created and then just put that in there. Now, that's cool, that's easy. That's my 2.5 line of codes. I count that as a half because that's not SignalR code. So we've got 2 lines of SignalR code so far. And so the last thing we need to do is actually start the connection to SignalR. So all we've done so far is created a proxy to it. We've said how we want to handle the messages that are coming from the server, but then we need to go and start that hub connection. Once we've done that, everything's going to work. So if we just hit run, put this over to the right hand side. But you know what, we should have made this nice and big. Well, I'm sure we'll see it. Okay, let's go back to that endpoint that I created, /create widget. There we go, widget's created 1. If I hit refresh, 2, 3, 4, 5. So as the server is sending out these messages, it's going out to the client immediately. So let's bring this over here. Let's hit duplicate. And let's put it here a few times, here and here and here. Let's get that. Let's open it up in Chrome as well. Hit OK. Put it there. And you know what? We're even going to load up the Windows Phone emulator. I'm going to type here local HTTP localhost 5517/home/about. Hit OK. Okay, so we also have this sitting here as well. So if I hit refresh on my create widget, bam! Oh, this one's hidden. And now I've lost all the other ones. There we go. We can see it's being updated in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 windows all at the same time. And each time I hit F5, it's going. I can hold it down. We can see it's updating all of them. Now that is pretty cool. We saw that it was only 3 lines of server code, 3 lines of JavaScript code, and it's now running in IE, in Chrome, in on a Windows Phone. It's running across all of these devices. Now, in the real world, you may want to put in, you will want to put in a bit more code around handling disconnections. So if it disconnects, you want to automatically reconnect, which is another few lines of code. But today I just want to concentrate on just how simple it is to get started with this with only a few lines of code. Now, I created a JavaScript client here to go and consume this, but let's take this a step further. The SignalR team created a few libraries. One was a JavaScript library, another was a library for .NET clients. So we've seen this running on a Windows Phone inside of Internet Explorer. Let's create an actual native application to show you how we can do this in .NET code. Let's start up a new instance of Visual Studio. And once this is loaded up, we're going to create a new project. This time we're going to create what's known as a universal project. Now this got released with Visual Studio 2013 Update 2. Go File, New Project, Store Application, create a new blank universal application, and we're going to call this the SignalR Webinar Client. That'll do. Hit OK. Now, what a universal application is a way for you to create a solution that has a project for Visual Studio, a project for Windows 8.1 application, and a project for Windows Phone 8.1 application, and also creates a third project which is a shared project. And what this allows you to do is put a lot of your shared code into the shared project, and it will automatically put it into the Windows Phone and the Windows 8 application for you. So you can write your code once and it will run on both platforms. So what I'm going to do is, so up the top here we've got the Windows 8 application, then we have the Windows Phone application, then down the bottom we have the shared application, the shared project. So anything that's in the shared project, all of these files will be copied into these two, and then these projects will compile. So what I want to do is delete main page from the Windows 8.1 project. I want to move the main page from the Windows Phone project into the shared. So now whatever I put inside this main page.xaml will be put into these two, and then I can write some code. But before we do that, we're going to have to add in these NuGet packages for SignalR. If we go online, search for SignalR, it's going to search and we're going to find SignalR, but this time we're going to install the .NET client. Now it's going to go download Newtonsoft, the JSON deserializer. It's going to download a few other things, and it's going to add them into the Windows 8.1 application. So we just want to go and repeat this and do it for the Windows Phone 8.1 application. We can collapse that now. We're finished with that one. Same thing here, SignalR. We'll install the client library again. Hit I accept. Okay, that's great. So that's all looking good. Let's collapse that. Now, let's go into our XAML, and we're going to just add a single text block to here. A text block to display our widget counts. Widgets are serious business. Okay, in this grid, once my computer comes back to me, come on, little fella. There we go. Text block. Wait for my IntelliSense to catch up. Thank you. Text block x name equals widget count text block. Let's give it a nice big font size. Let's give it 48. And let's put in a little bit of a margin just to ensure that it's pushed down from the top, because I know that it's going to have some debugging symbols in here. Okay, so we've got our widget help, if I can spell widget count. Widget count text block. Okay, that's great. So that's our UI done. Let's go into the code behind and let's drip it right back down. Delete, 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 delete. Okay, nice and lean. So let's just build. It's always good to build before we do anything to make sure that I haven't broken anything yet. Very good. Okay, let's go and say set up widget hub. Great. Okay, so here it's going to be 4 lines of code. JavaScript, it was 3. Here it's going to be 4 lines of code, but those lines of code are going to look very similar to what we did in the JavaScript. So again, rather than me trying to type it all out, let's just copy it all and we'll talk about it one step at a time. Let's delete, delete, delete. Okay, then let's bring in some. Well, that just broke everything because now I don't have an undo. Good work, David. Okay, let's look at this section first. So the first thing we want to do is create a proxy to the widget hub. Now, when we were on the JavaScript, because we were running on the server, we could just go /SignalR/hubs. So we could cheat. We didn't need to put in the name of the server, the address of the server, because the client was already on the server. But because we're doing it here as an external client, we need to put in the address of where the server is. So the very first line is just creating a connection to our the SignalR hub system on our website, on our web server. So once we've got that, then we need to say which of the hubs which are on that server do we actually want to connect to. In this case, we want to connect to the widget hub. Now let's go and paste that code back in there. So right down the bottom, we want to do the same thing again. We want to start the connection. Let's bring in the using statement. But one thing that we do have to do, just for the moment, is the native client on the Windows Phone only supports long polling at the moment. So if you try to get it to do auto negotiation, it'll fail. So it's just better for us to just force it to do long polling at the moment. Now this is only an issue with the version of SignalR as of this recording. The SignalR team have said that the very next version of SignalR that is coming out is going to support WebSockets on the Windows Phone. So when this new version comes out, you'd be able to just update your NuGet packages, get the latest version of the NuGet package, and then you can just delete this line where we're hard coding it to do long polling. Whoops, which I need for the moment. Okay, so the top bit and the bottom bit look the same as what we had on the JavaScript library. Now we just need to do the same thing. Tell it to handle those server-side messages. So hubproxy.on, so on this message happening, and we say that we're expecting an int to come into us. So we've got on int for the update widget count server message. Then we want to go and do something. So the here, because it's going to be happening on a background thread, we're just saying dispatcher.run asynchronously. then we can do whatever we want. So widget count text block dot text equals count dot toString. That's all we need to do. So if we hit run, everything should be working. Whoops, it loaded up the Windows 8.1 application. That's fine. We just go and snap it over here. Oop. Oh, why do we have an error? Let's hit stop. Oh, I know why we have an error. Because up the very top, right here, we're on a different server. It looks like it's 5517 today. 5517. Let's hit save. Let's rerun this. Okay, so you can up the top you can see those little debugging symbols, which is why I put the margin in a little bit just to help us out. So let's also go and debug, start a new instance. So let's have our Windows Phone application happening as well. Then let's bring this up and that and that. Okay, so drum roll please, everyone on the webinar. If I've done this correctly, if I hit F5, we should see this update in multiple windows at once. F5, yay! And I'm expecting that Twitch channel, everyone in the chat should be doing clapping and applauding right now. So we can see now when I hit F5, it's being updated in multiple browsers. It's being updated on a Windows 8.1 application. It's being updated in a Windows Phone application. And you've seen how simple this is to set up. We add in a NuGet package, we write 3 or 4 lines of code, and everything happens for us automatically via magic and internet tubes. So we can close all of this down now. Let's kill that. We'll close, close, close. We'll clean everything up. In fact, I think if we even go to here you go. Even though this was in the background, still went up to 127. So that's all pretty cool. So let's hit stop there. We'll go back to here. We'll hit stop, clean everything up, and let's go back to our slides. So that was great. We saw that we can trigger events on the server side and have the server go and broadcast messages out to all of the clients which are connected to it. And that's pretty cool. But this is just showing real-time communication between a server and sending messages to the client. But we can do it the other way around, going from the client out to the server. So for this, let's have a look at this chat application. Chat application. Now, I do want to call out the clip art that I'm using. I'm using the built-in Office royalty-free clip art, and it looks like that they created it in for Office 2000, and they haven't updated it in the 14 years since then. So apparently, this is what a smartphone looks like. We've got an old Windows Mobile 5.0 device. We've got an old-school machine. I don't know if that. I don't think that's a PC. It must be an Amstrad or something with a big 5.25 inch floppy drive. We've got a PC down here finally, but it's suffering from the Y2K bug. So this is some really old clip art. So forgive me on this. Now, how this is going to happen is all the clients are going to connect to SignalR Hub, like we saw before, but the clients can go and send messages to the SignalR Hub in real time. And then it can go and broadcast a message out to each of those clients. So this could be anything. This could be as simple as here, sending out a text message, which is going to be broadcast out to everyone else. But it could also be used for something like measuring sensors. So if you had a temperature sensor, whenever the temperature changed on a production line, you could send those messages through via SignalR and get those sending up through in real time. Or what would make more sense for a real-time application would be people creating games for a computer. So if they were creating asteroids or some other sort of game, whenever a user inputs commands, you could go and have the client send those messages in real time up to the server, have the server broadcast them out to all of the clients. So it's a way to enable a form of game communication. So let's go and have a look at how clients can send messages. So let's go back to here. So what we're going to create is a anonymous chat application. So we're not going to track people's usernames or anything like that. We're just going to allow it to be anonymous chat. So it's 4chan. It's 4chan for chat. So hubs, we're going to go and add in a new SignalR hub. There we go. Call it the chat hub. Hit OK. Clean it up. Now, in order to enable clients to call methods on a server to send messages, all we have to do is just define public methods within this hub. That's all we have to do. And anything which is here, clients are able to call it. So, because this is going to be a chat hub, let's just put in a public void send message. So clients can go and call this method. And when they do, they're going to send in a string which contains a message. And once we've done that, so we've got a message in from the client, which is going to be that chat message, all we need to do now is just go clients dot, because we're inside the hub knows everyone connected to it, clients dot all dot, and again, because that all is a dynamic object, we can send any message we want. So we're just going to broadcast, if I can spell broadcast message, and send out that message. Easy. That's all we need to do. So server side, we're done. Nothing else we need to do. Now let's go and create just a plain HTML page so you can see how you can do this. Let's create a HTML page, chat page. Easy. Now let's create the UI for our chat application. We're going to have an input field where people can type in what their message is. Then we're going to have a button. Button says send message. So whenever they click on this button, we're going to take whatever is in this message field and send it out, send it to the server. So we'll call this the send message button. And then we'll add in a div where we're going to display all of the chat log. Great. So down here, let's go and bring in all of those scripts that we need. So because we're in a plain HTML page at the moment, we do need to bring in the jQuery library. We need to bring in the SignalR jQuery plugin. And we also need to go /SignalR/hubs. Whoops. Then we're going to write our own logic. Looking good. Okay, again, you don't want to see me write code. Cut. Great. So let's start off like this. So we're going to do the same first step, create the proxy for the chat hub. Once we've created the proxy for the chat hub, then we can start and we're using it and everything's good. But here we're going to use jQuery to go and find our button, which was up the top. We're going to find this send message button. Then we're just going to add a click event to this. So whenever we click it, we're going to pull out what is in, whoops, go back up, whatever the user put into here. So var message equals $hash message dot val. So let's pull out whatever is in there. Then helps if we have a semicolon. If we scroll down, we have chat hub. So same thing, chat hub dot, but instead of client we have dot server this time because we want to invoke some logic on the server. So chat hub dot server dot the name of the method that we had on our chat hub, which is send message. Go back here, send message, and pass in what we want. Great. So then last thing we need to do is actually, if we trace this through, if they click the button, we're going to go We're going to send the message. It's going to hit the chat hub. Chat hub's going to go in here, then it's going to broadcast this message out to all of the clients, which means now in the JavaScript we need to say how we want to handle this this message when it comes to us. So let's just go back, and it's these two. Paste. That's it. ChatHub.client. The name of the message we want to handle. We expect that there's going to be the text message coming through. So we're just going to find that div up the top, chatlog.append, and we're just going to append this, the message that came through. Very nice, very simple. If we hit run, it should now just work. So let's go. Let's load this up multiple times. Duplicate, duplicate. There you go. So if we say hi, there we go. It's being broadcast out to all of the clients again. How are you? I am fine. So it's an anonymous chat. We don't know who's sending the messages. Now we could go and add in an extra text field so they can put in their username, so then we could send that through with a message as well. We could, but I'm not going to. Long story short, I'm not going to. But I do want to show you that we can do some other interesting things with this. So let's close this down and press stop. If we go back to our chat hub, now we've been using this .all, but there are actually other options in here. If I let's just comment this out for the moment. We can go clients dot, and you can actually go caller. You can go clients.caller, so we can actually send a specific message back to whoever called us. So this is useful if you just want real-time communication between the client and the server. The client is going to send messages to the server, and the server just wants to respond back to that one caller. So this could be if you're doing, I don't know, editing something in Photoshop, something like this, but it's not something you want to broadcast out to everyone. You just want to do it to whoever did this. So we can take advantage of this, and we can show the people that hey, it is an anonymous chat, but you can still know it was you who sent this one message. Then out for everyone else, we can go clients dot. If we go down, there's actually one called others. So for everyone else, we can send the others something. So anon. Great. If we hit save, we can hit refresh, press duplicate, bring this out here. Okay. Why is this taking... Oh, okay, because it wasn't going to chat page. That's great. Okay, let's duplicate this, pull this out, and do the same thing. Hi. This time, you can tell who did it. How are you? I am fine. Send message. This case, this person is getting the me, the other people are getting the non, and vice versa. This guy doesn't know who's talking. It could just be the same one person just trolling them. Now, we can do the exact same thing again with the, let's keep that running, with the Windows Phone application. So let's see, we can go, so we're back in our Windows Phone application. Set this up really nice and quick. Set up the chat hub. Let's copy and paste here. Set up chat hub. This time we want to connect to the chat hub. We want to respond to a different message this time, which is a string, and it's going to be the broadcast message. When the message comes, we want to go chat log text block dot text So let's actually go back to the page, and we want it to be the chat log text box. Give it a smaller font. Okay. So this is going to equal chat log text block dot text plus let's see, let's just do it with environment dot new line plus, and let's just append the message to the end of it. Easy. So if we hit run, we should have our Windows 8.1 application boot up. Let's dock this over to the side. Go back, we'll right click, debug, start the Windows Phone application. Then we can go back to, well, there it is, and there. And so now we can go and type in, what is your name? There you go, it's going out to all of them now. I am Spartacus. No, I'm Spartacus. And we can continue on like that. And because it's all anonymous, no one knows who's saying what. But you can see that we've got these real-time messages now happening, again, everywhere. So we could go and extend this Windows 8 and this Windows Phone 8 application, and we could add in a text box, and we could add in a button, and we could do the same, but we'll be re-implementing what you've seen a few times now. I just want to get home just want to get across to you just how easy it is to set this up. You've seen me implement this a few times now. So if we close all of that down, let's go back to our slides and go to the next topic. So the last topic is scaling SignalR. Now SignalR, we're doing it, the SignalR hubs can send out messages to all of the clients which are connected to that server's hub. Now that's okay, except for when we start scaling this out. Now if we put this onto Windows Azure and we scale it out to more than one instance, now each of those instances of our web application are going to have their own distinct SignalR hub, and it's only going to know the clients which it's tracking. And we can see this in this little animation. We've got one client sending out a message, and all that SignalR hub can do is send it out to the clients which are connected to it. Down here, yeah, so again, Office, clip art, their idea of a PC is a machine that's got a serial port connected to it, a serial cable. Yes, that's how we're connecting to the internet nowadays, with serial ports. But same thing, this server, all it can do is just transmit out to all of the other clients which are connected to that individual one. Then that's a problem. But the SignalR team know how to handle this, and they do it with something called a backplane. And the backplane is just something which sits behind these servers. So now when a message is sent from the client, it's going to hit the server pushes it to the backplane goes and propagates it out to all of the other servers, and the servers then can transmit it out to the can go and transmit it out to all of the clients that they know of. And that's how you do it. Now, the SignalR team have created 3 plugins for this, and these are all available as NuGet packages. They've got one for the Windows Azure Service Bus, they've got it for Redis, and they have it for SQL Server. My chair's fallen down again. There we go. We've got these 3 different options, and you can implement either one of them. Now if you're up in Windows Azure websites, the one that makes the most sense to use is going to be the Azure Service Bus. It's very simple to get up and running. You just go and create one in the management portal. You add in the NuGet package and you add in a single line of code. If you're running on premises but you've got a few instances, then you're probably going to want to use the SQL Server one. If you've got more flexibility, you'd probably want to go with Redis then. So the order that I've got them listed is probably the order that you'd want to choose them. Now, I'm not going to spend today any more time talking about how to do them, because it's going to depend on your environment which one you want to do. But if you go to asp.net/SignalR, so let's close out of here. So if you go to asp.net/SignalR, they're going to have a little tree here. So you open up SignalR2, performance and scaling, and Introduction to Scale Out in SignalR. So here they've got a nice little doco on it, and they tell you exactly what I just said. You can have a server with multiple clients connected to it with a backplane sending the messages, and those are the three options there. And they've also got a step-by-step, and it's very simple. If we... Here we go. So you would just go and add in the ASP.NET SignalR Service Bus package. You add in this one line of code, and that's pretty much it. It's very, very, very simple to add a backplane. So the SignalR team have done a lot of work to get this up and running. They've done all the hard lifting for you. You just need to go take it and make awesome applications. So we've seen how we can do this with some line of business applications, but it would work well for things like games and things like that. Although they say if you're going to do it with games, don't use it with a backplane. But anyway, with that, I just want to close up by saying thank you. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we haven't got to the last slide. Click. Oh, because we're going through my animation. There we go. So with that, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for joining this session of the Dev Superpowers webinar. We've seen SignalR today, and we've seen just how simple it is to get up and running. It's as easy as adding a NuGet package, writing 3 lines of server-side code, writing 4 lines of client-side code. Everything happens for you. So if you did enjoy this session, please send us your feedback. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you did not like. Either way, please, if you're on the YouTube video, hit like, hit subscribe if you'd like to see more videos just like this, and keep subscribed to the Dev Superpowers as we release a new session each month which helps you become a better developer. I'm David Burela. Thank you.